All right, welcome everybody back with 8-Minute Webinar. This week I'm extremely excited to present ZX Ventures, which is a company we've worked very closely with over the years. We've done a lot of fun work together. It's a very fun organization. They experiment with a lot of interesting things in the video and branding world, and we've had the benefit of getting a chance to get to know their team pretty well. And so today we have Cass Vincent, who's joining us on behalf of ZX Ventures. Cassie, thank you so much for joining. If you don't mind, if you just give us a little introduction on yourself, your role at ZX Ventures, and then we'll dive in.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Hi everyone, I'm Cass Vincent. I've been with ZX for close to 2 years now, overseeing student recruiting for the global office in New York.
Can you quickly just give us a brief on what ZX Ventures is and what they do?
Yeah, absolutely. So ZX Ventures, simply put, is the growth and innovation branch of Anheuser-Busch InBev. So we look for ways to innovate and evolve in the beverage industry.
Can you maybe briefly share with us what the EVP, what you would say the EVP is, or describe the EVP of working at ZX Ventures?
The EVP of ZX is really broken down to 3 main points. So number 1 is that we're empowered by our people. We're a company of owners, which means that we can count on each other to be just as invested and committed to our projects as we are. Everyone's really contributing. Number 2 is that we hire people who want to learn and grow quickly, which means that you'll explore uncharted territories, creating and investing in new businesses that have never even existed in the past. So you really get to build and explore the unknown. The third part is that we really have the best of both worlds. We're in a startup environment with access to AB InBev's resources, which means that we have centuries of expertise spanning over 150 countries and close to 200,000 colleagues. So we really get to use that ambition and chase the big dream while we get to have our own autonomy and resources.
Tell us about your internship opportunities.
So we primarily focus on our internships towards the first year students in MBA programs. That being said, we do look at students outside of those specific programs. We believe that internships should accurately reflect our culture. So that's why our interns work closely with teams throughout the businesses and the different departments, dedicating their efforts to specific business units within the space so that we can solve some of our most pressing issues. So this is not a rotational program, it's not a hypothetical program, or it's not like a participation trophy. You really get to see the impact of your work at the end. And some of this stuff is highly connected to some of our biggest initiatives, so it's really exciting.
If you're a student, how can they find this opportunity at ZX? What's the best way for them to find it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have all of our recruiting efforts are always up on our website. So if you go to zx-ventures.com/students, you'll be able to see anything regarding student recruiting, or even if you look at our careers page, there will be a section dedicated to student recruiting. Right now, our applications will open sometime in the fall, so we'll share those dates there. But we also, that's like the main space to find like the source of truth, but we also will have the opportunities listed on different job boards, LinkedIn, a few other spaces too.
Cool. So probably the most important question here, what is the interview process like?
The interview process for us, it'll start with a conversation with the people team. And you will meet a variety of other team members throughout the interview process. We really want to make sure you get exposure to different perspectives, different levels of seniority in the company, just so you get a really nice cross-section of understanding who we are and how we operate. So ZX is really invested in that assessment process. So we will uncover the candidates matching or compatibility rather with our principles that we have within our culture. We have 10 pillars that we list out on our website. So depending on the position, we can provide space to share work and technical skill sets that are required for the position throughout case studies or work samples. But lastly, the final stage of the process will be a panel interview, meaning that there'll be multiple interviewers in the space so that we can have you meet several leaders again across all those different areas and see a little bit more of your work and understand a little bit more of your long-term goals and motivators.
When if someone does get placed as an intern, are they all in one location, or are there multiple locations across?
Yeah, so the majority of the internships will be held in New York. Our global headquarters is split between New York and London right now, so between those two areas. But that being said, full-time placement can really go anywhere. We're in close to 20 countries, so we look at authorization and interest and things like that when thinking about full-time placement. But really, you can travel anywhere. I should say that even if you are, even if your project is based in New York or in London for those global spaces, you'll be tackling projects from around the world. So you might be traveling to different zones. You might be going to Brazil, you might be going to Colombia, you might be going to Asia to understand the consumers there. It really just depends on your project.
Oh, wow. So during the actual internship, they might travel to, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, how lucky is that? Cool.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
What's the first thing you all look for on a resume?
Honestly, don't have like a go-to first thing that we look at. It's more about looking for career progression and former experience.
Would you say the objective is a useful tool for students on their resume?
I personally am of the favor of an objective, especially if you're coming from a non-traditional background. I think that you need to give a little bit of humility and passion behind the black and white of the resume. So right. An objective statement is great. I think if you want to speak a little bit more to it, that's where this cover letter comes in. So yeah, if you think that you can sum yourself up and be efficient rather in your storytelling with a few sentences, an objective is great. If you feel like you need a little bit more, that's when I would translate over to a cover letter.
Got it. Okay, good. So do you all typically read cover letters if people submit them?
We will, yeah. We will. I will say that I do see a lot of folks who have redundant components to their cover letters, to their resumes, and I would advise that the cover letter should be treated as a value add. You'll notice that cover letters are never required for us, but they're optional, right? So again, if you find it's going to be something that's going to enhance your story and give us more information, great. If you feel like you are repeating yourself, think about streamlining and being a little bit more efficient there.
Is GPA important?
GPA can be important. It's not the only piece we look at. It's definitely an indicator to show us work ethic and things like that, but we understand that it's not a cut and dry cutoff.
And what suggestions do you have for a candidate that might be preparing for an interview at ZX?
Yeah, I think that it's really important to look over the content that we already have out there. We've worked with you, thankfully, and we've had a lot of really great content develop through like articles, videos. We have some interviews up regarding ZX and our work. So I would really look through the stuff on our website that highlights our culture, our people, and our approach. But most importantly, I think about the type of organizational culture that you want to build in your career. Investigate if this culture is right for you. So I think that a lot of people, especially students, hear about our culture and get super, super excited because it's a lot of ownership and you have a lot of freedom, which is true, but with that comes an immense amount of responsibility and an immense amount of ambiguity that you have to feel not just comfortable navigating, but excited by that.
Well, awesome, Cass. Thanks so much for joining us for this 8-minute webinar. Very much appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.